Okay, so first of all, we need to cut off a piece of it. And what we do is, because we just want to have a specific length, which is not very far. I would say it's maybe 85 centimeters of a draw. That's about it. So the best length for you would be for the relaxed rubber around 20 centimeters, since we're going to use a little bit for the binding, for the attachment. So normally what I would now start with, I would just cut off a piece that's about 20 centimeters long, like here and here.
Is this because I've got quite long arms, or is this generally for everybody?
Well, you have longer arms than average.
Yep.
And what you do is, well, ideally you would always use the calculator. So you would measure your draw like you would do for archery. You would do the same thing, right? And then with that kind of draw length, you would go to the calculator and type it in, and it would tell you exactly how long you cut it. But I, of course, have learned how to just judge people just with my eyes, so I don't really need that. So this is the piece, and of course this would be far too strong for a slingshot band, because that's a lot of rubber. So we need to cut it in stripes. Very important to use the roll cutter for it, because if you try to use scissors with that, you will create little nicks, and it will rip at the nicks. So what I do is, I now use the dimension for you. And since you want to shoot pebbles, which are not too heavy, I'd use about 2.5 centimeters on one side and about 2 centimeters on the other side, on the pouch side. And mark the same here on the other spot.
If I wanted to shoot ball bearings, would you use?
That depends on the dimension of the ball bearings. So it's and also the size of the ball bearings and the weight, you can put them in the calculator as well.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people also shoot lead balls. Most of the hunters use lead, actually.
Yeah.
Because lead is just more dense and has, in general, better penetration.
Yeah.
So, this is one. This is the second. So these are the bands, and those are not very hard to draw. So, and next thing that we need is a pouch. So for this, you take a strip of leather, and actually this is it's done for furniture. So people would just use it for leather couches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Always cut off a little bit, and then again use the roll cutter to get it even. So like this. Yeah, that was a little thicker part here. Okay. All right. So for pebbles, you need a little wider pouch.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Cut off this thick end. So this would be a pouch dimension that would work for pebbles pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want to make the pouch too large, because it's all extra weight that you have to accelerate, right? Then I always round it a little bit on the edges, just so it's not that sharp. Next, what you do is you need a hole punch. Okay. And I always also punch a center hole.
Now, why do you do that?
Because it makes it easier to center the projectile in the pouch. Since the leather, even if you're not centering it actively, the leather will tend to bend easier at the weakest spot. Yeah. So you don't have to do it. A lot of people don't do it. I like it because it just adds a little bit of an accuracy. So and then next thing I do is I use string. This is very cheap polyurethane or string, and important is the knot that I'm using. It's called the constrictor knot. So this is a knot that if you tie it, You cannot untie it. The only way to untie this knot is to cut it, because the more you pull, the more it tightens itself. So this is a very strong knot, and I use pliers for it. Put it through here. Then you grip the corner of the...
The thick end goes there.
Oh, the thin end. Oh, thanks for... Okay. And then you pull the rubber through the hole, like this.
Yeah.
And then what you want is you want just a little piece poking through. Oops, my band fell off. Okay. And then you stretch it a little bit, like this. And I always use my teeth, like this, to tie it. And then you really pull as hard as possible. And you can also, the end is a little short, you can use pliers for it. Okay, so now the constrictor knot has really squeezed it in, and this will hold practically forever. Okay. The square knots that people are often using is very problematic, because you need to have you double it up, and if you, then in the meantime it can easily slip. Yes. So you really need two people to do it with the square knot. So the constrictor knot is very easy to learn. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Yeah. So if you type in constrictor knot, there will be lots of... okay. So it's pretty much the same thing on the other side. So what I always do is I always cut off the excess rubber, simply because it looks nicer, and also it's you know, in theory a little less weight. Yes. But good. Yes. I just mostly do it because I think it looks better.
Well, they're objects of beauty as well, aren't they?
Okay, the other side. Okay, now we take the trusty old Milbro, and what we do is
we throw away the rubber.
First of all, we cut off the old rubber. And to put this on is very easy, because we use the same so-called over-the-top method. This means we put a little bit of it over it, like this. Yep. Then we take a rubber band. It's the same material, really only a strip of it. And draw it out and tie it around, like this. And you do this several times. Okay, should center it a little better. You do this several times, so that in the end there is so much force on the, so much pressure from the accumulated rubber here, yes, that it will not come off again. So hopefully. Okay. Okay, so when you're almost finished, you take the pliers and you do the last turn over the tip of the pliers and grip it. Yep. And pull it underneath like this. The beauty is, if you want to untie it, all you have to do is you grip the little piece here, and then it's already off. Now this will hold very well, and it's a far quicker attachment method than you know, the string method that you used previously.
Yes, exactly. That did take a long time.
Okay. All right. So now if you want to thicken up the handle a little bit without destroying the slingshot, what I would recommend is a paracord wrap. Okay. So you would just wrap it with a little bit of a paracord. Yes. Maybe you want to do that. So yeah, it's not destroying it, you know. So so if I would attach like a set of wooden handles to it, yes, I'd pretty much have to either drill something to it or glue something to it. And you know, you don't do this on vintage things, you know. Like you wouldn't really put a CD player in a classic car. So You can do it, but you know it kind of diminishes the value and.
You've talked me out of it.
Okay, all right.
You're absolutely right.
So. And this, but it would probably be interesting for you because this guy in Sheffield, he's also doing this with the vintage stuff.
Yes.
Just take vintage slingshots and would take molds and also enhance them in a way. So
Yes. Yeah.
he would make them really beautiful. So
I think that's fabulously enhanced.
okay,
And you would use that catapult like that with your
yeah,
with your thumb?
that's how I would use it.
Yeah.
And I would also use it in the flip style technique because it's very narrow fork.
Yes.
And so what you would do is you would flip like this, right?
Okay, as you fire.
So you would
Right.
flip down the wrist, and in this way you would be never able to hit your hand with this.
Gotcha.
So this is what I would do, and as I said, I would probably, if I have enough of a pair, probably should find another set. But what you could do here is you could try a paracord wrap on this.
Yes.
Let me see if I have enough of let's clip it off. And now with the last piece, what you do is you put it in like this. First let's widen this up a little bit. Okay. Okay. You could also use a little bit of glue if you don't want to
Yeah.
burn it. So, okay. Okay. You can still shoot it like this,
Yes.
which is the original idea, I
Yes.
think. That I would always shoot it like this with this so-called support method. And well, you could shoot it in the hammer grip, but
It's difficult. Yes.
it's a little uncomfortable for me.